there is a silent killer lurking on your hands and in between your fingers. This silent killer kills and spreads bacteria. And the worst part of the whole thing is that it is entirely preventable. Washing hands stops disease. Hand washing is the best way to stop infection in its tracks. Hand washing is something that everyone in America should do, and living in America, we have a unique opportunity to running water in our bathrooms and hand soap in virtually every public restroom. So there's no really reason for us not to wash our hands. Sadly, a lot of people skip this, activity, and skipping can be bad for your health. It is so important that the CDC actually has a campaign on hand washing. I work in healthcare, and that's the thing that we're always told is wash your hands. It's the best way to not only prevent yourself from catching something, but to prevent passing something from one person to another. Proper hand washing is not done enough. Improper hand washing causes harm, and proper hand washing is beneficial. So let's look at how many people miss the mark. In a study that was published by Ryan Jaslow, he's an editor for CBS News in 2013, he said, quote, 12 researchers were deployed undercover to public restrooms located across a college town for the study. They observed more than 3,700 people using public restrooms and found 95% of them were cutting corners. 33% of people didn't use soap, while 10% skipped hand washing entirely. The average hand washing time was 6 seconds, far below the CDC's recommended duration. So if I'm going to break that down into percentages, 52% of people didn't wash their hands for the recommended amount of time. 33% of people didn't use soap, and 10% of people didn't wash their hands at all. That number is how many people miss the mark when it comes to hand washing. 95%, almost that entire graph. So, in that same article, Ryan Jaslow reminded us of the proper hand washing technique. So we start off with wetting our hands with warm or cold water. They say warm or cold is okay. Be sure you get the backs of the hands in between fingers and nails. Obviously, you soap up after you get your hands wet. And you do it for about 20 seconds, or the happy birthday song twice. That's also taken me about 20 seconds to explain the process to you. So then you rinse, you turn off the water, and you dry with a clean towel or air dryer. Everybody knows the steps. It's not like I'm teaching you some groundbreaking, earth-shattering thing. People just don't do it. People don't follow the steps like they're supposed to. And improperly following the steps or not doing it has serious consequences. The Vallejo Times-Herald in California published this article in 2015 that says the Center for Disease Control estimates 1 out of 6 Americans, or 48 million people, get sick each year as a result of inadequate hand washing. Of these people, about 128,000 are hospitalized and about 3,000 die from foodborne illnesses. There's a direct link to poor hand washing in many of these cases, end quote. So this is killing people. Improperly washing your hands is something that is a very serious risk. I'll be honest, that last quote really frightened me. So I had to do some more research. I had to figure out what are the other problems of not washing your hand. We're going to look at that now. So improper hand washing causes harm. The University of Colorado study conducted by Dr. Frederick Salman in 2007 split 400 students up into 2 different study groups, 200 people each. One study group was allowed to live in dorms that had access to hand washing. So at the bathrooms, at the cafe, and in their dorm rooms, they had access to hand washing. The other study group did not. At the end of 6 months, he published his findings, stating, quote, 20% fewer cases of illness, especially respiratory, in the first group relative to the second, and 43% fewer absences from class. So, if we're going to look at this, and kind of break it down this way, we see less hand washing options equals more illness and more time lost. When you ignore washing your hands, it's like you're ignoring the opportunity there. And so we can logically follow the steps saying that if you don't wash your hands, you're more likely to get ill, and there's more likely to be time lost. So let me ask you this question. Let's take it out of the school environment, out of the college environment, and let's put it in your home. If you have roommates, if you have family, let's say 4 people live in a house together. So we saw in the study, 95% of people aren't washing their hands. that puts you at an increased risk for getting sick. A 20% increased risk, according to that study, for contracting a respiratory illness, and 43% higher of missing time at work. So now you have to take sick time, you are missing productivity, and that's assuming that you don't get sick. You may get sick. You may have to go to the doctor, which puts you at even a higher risk of getting infections. So not washing your hands is a big deal. It causes a lot of problems. So just wash your hands. That's the simple answer, I feel like. Again, according to the Lego Times, saying making hand washing a habit is the single most important thing to do to prevent someone from getting or making others sick. So washing your hands is going to be the best option for you. So proper hand washing is beneficial and makes sense. The American Medical Association Complete Guide to Prevention and Wellness, published in 2008, says that washing your hands can prevent the common cold. It can prevent MRSA. It can prevent salmonella. It can prevent toxoplasmosis, hepatitis A, and hepatitis B. So when you skip that, when 95% of people skip that, they're putting themselves at an increased risk of contracting one of these diseases, potentially being put in the hospital, and worst case scenario, dying. It's a problem, and by washing your hands, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about contracting these different diseases, and you really make yourself and your family healthier. So, I've also heard the question asked, what about hand sanitizers? Hand sanitizers seem like they work pretty well, and I think that they do on some level. However, Latitudes Online, it's a periodical, published in one of their articles in 2009 and said, once you've rubbed the liquid, speaking of the hand sanitizer, onto your hands, viruses are simply less likely to attach to them. Most sanitizers are considered quite effective in killing bacteria. Still, hand washing remains a tried and true approach, and when hands are actually dirty, soap and water is the only way to go. Sanitizers do not remove dirt and grime. So I would say, if you've been elbow deep in the dirt and the grime, it's probably not the best option. It's good for a quick fix, but soap and water is tried and true. So the benefits of hand washing are obvious. The alternative just seems crazy. Let's review the steps in conclusion today. So we see hand washing is not done enough. Inadequate hand washing causes problems. We talked about that. Sickness, illness. Proper hand washing has multiple benefits. The evidence is